How far would you go to protect your child? The new miniseries Unspeakable follows two families grappling with the impacts of one of the biggest medical disasters of the 80s.
Yeah, Sarah Wayne Callies stars as Margaret, a teacher who becomes a whistleblower after realizing her son may have been affected. Take a look.
The whole thing is still pretty muddy, isn't it?
No. No, the blood products he'll be taking from now on are safe.
Maybe you should take a leave until we can find out a little...
You have no legitimate grounds for my dismissal. Well, my husband works for public health. I'm sure he'd be happy to come in here and teach the faculty and the parents the facts on AIDS and its transmission.
No, hold on.
If you want me out, you'll have to fire me. I will fight it every step of the way.
Oh, and Sarah joins us now. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So this is based on a true story of this tragedy. It takes place over the course of 30 years.
It does.
How much research did you have to do for this? Because I imagine there's so much to take in with something that's...
A tremendous amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about this when the job came my way. Although, you know, the part of it that was personal to me is I remember growing up during the AIDS crisis. And the first person that I ever watched died of AIDS. And the only thing that was worse than watching that disease take him was watching parts of our culture say, he deserves to die that way because he's gay.
Yeah.
And so that was the piece of this that I think I really connected to. You know, so much of the AIDS crisis was allowed to go on as long as it did because people thought it only affected the gay population.
Right.
And they were okay with that. And so this is a story.
Isn't that horrifying? Like, oh my gosh.
It is horrifying.
Yeah.
And yet I think it's something, you know, the reason we tell these stories that are the true stories, right, is I think we have to take that on board as a culture and say, we did that.
Yeah.
And so now how do we do better?
Yeah.
Now how do we decide to care about everyone, no matter where they come from, what God they pray to, who they sleep with, what gender they are. Like, we gotta go like this to everybody.
Now, you're a mother, you're a teacher, you're ultimately a leader advocating for these victims in this film. As a mother yourself, did this character resonate with you more?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think for anyone with kids, any story where the stakes are, and your children's life, there's a sort of immediate thing in your guts.
Immediate.
And, you know, this was an interesting project for me. It takes place, as you said, over 30 years. So I go from playing a very young mom to playing a grandmother. And my own daughter played my granddaughter.
Wow.
Which I realized opened me up for a tremendous amount of granny mom jokes that, like, I should have shut down. But no, I mean, you know, I wanted to tell this story partly for her and for her generation, right? This is a story about if we take our eyes off the medical establishment, they may not be taking care of us. They may be taking care of their finances.
Yeah.
So we got to keep our eye on it.
Well, you also directed an episode of this too, right?
I did.
What is that like, directing yourself?
Directing myself is as close to true madness as I ever want to get.
I don't understand. That seems like such a hard thing to grasp, that concept.
Yeah. Directing myself is the only thing I don't like about directing.
Okay, all right,
I am very much hoping to move into a part of directing where I can direct other actors and not have to, you know, there was a day, the prosthetic age makeup for when I was in my 60s took 2 hours. And so they were setting up a shot.
That'd be weird in itself.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah. It's so weird. By the way, I took a picture and I sent it to my mom. And she goes, I don't look that bad. I was like, oh, sorry.
Okay, good.
But we're setting up a shot and they've got monitors in front of me and I'm on a walkie and they're putting these prosthetic pieces on. And I was like, would you drop the camera down just a little bit and would you move to a 50 on beat? Sorry, hold on. And
oh my gosh.
I would run back and forth between these two things. But it's making a movie, making a show, it's always chaos, right? And so you just go, let's do it. Let's do it.
Now, you return to the zombie world, or you're going to soon, to be directing an upcoming episode of Fear the Walking Dead. Speaking of directing, too.
Yes.
So you shadowed someone. How did that go? How was that being on set again?
Well, the first transition that was interesting is having, you know, started Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I'm now moving into the Fear world.
Right.
So I shadowed a guy named Mike Satrazemis, who started as the camera operator on Walking Dead.
Oh, wow.
And is now the producing director of Fear. So he has just risen up, and I had so much to learn from him. And of course, in the Fear cast is Denai Guerra, who I know from Prison. Oh, sorry, Denai Garcia.
Oh, yeah.
There's too many Denai G's. Denai Garcia, who I knew from Prison Break. And so I got a chance to sort of reunite with her.
Coming home again.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a small business.
What can you tell us about Council of Dads, NBC drama? What's happening with that?
Oh, I don't know. You're on NBC. You tell me if they're picking us up.
We're rooting for you.
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was a project with my whole heart. You know, it's based on a best-selling book by a man who was diagnosed with cancer and decided to assemble a group of men in his life so that if he passed away, his children would have a group of men to go to.
I hope that it gets picked up so that you can come back and you can tell us more about it. You can catch Unspeakable Thursdays and Fridays at midnight on Sundance TV. Sarah, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.